From the beautiful campus of Casper College, it's the T-Birds Coaches Show, bringing you game breakdowns, expert analysis, and exclusive interviews. Here's your host, Tom Myler.
Welcome, T-Bird fans, to, of course, a fantastic Casper College Coaches Show. And with me, we have Coach Dwight Canary. Welcome, Coach.
Welcome, and a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, too.
Yeah.
We're excited because Thanksgiving means turkey. I like the dressing, the potatoes, cranberry sauce, if you like that sort of thing. But it also means 2 home games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to throw the pumpkin pie in that. I like the list, but give me the pumpkin pie as well.
I didn't even think about the desserts.
No, well, that's top priority. But,
top priority.
Yeah, and the basketball. And it's always great. I really appreciate our fans again, as always. But, you know, as Thanksgiving weekend, and could be a lot of people out of town, but we always bring a really nice fan base for this weekend. So really excited for that opportunity.
Well, here's a question for you then, Coach. If we're going to have basketball over the Thanksgiving weekend, can we offer our fans pumpkin pie?
As long as I'm not bringing it, absolutely.
We'll talk to our AD and see if we can figure that out. So
absolutely.
Stick around, fans.
I would, no problem with it.
Maybe pumpkin pie. Don't count on it, but we'll see. A little something special. But let's get into the other special things. We split the weekend this last weekend going up, nice 13-hour bus ride up to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and you had a tough first battle against North Idaho College.
It was
losing that one.
That is a tough trip, but that's not an excuse. We have to be able to have long road trips and win, but it's a brutal one. We had some weather issues, some road issues, and kudos to our bus driver Bob Kelly. I'll give him a big shout out. Long hours, tough roads and stuff. So the trip itself is a challenge. And North Idaho has a very good basketball team. They again, and there's a trend that we've got to address. Teams are shooting the three really well against us, and the last 4 games, that's been our biggest thing that we've had to overcome, and it's been the difference as far as the outcome of the game is how well teams are shooting the three against us.
Well, not even just the three, but just from the field and whatever. I mean, they're 40+% every time, and even when you beat Miles, they still technically outshot you percentage-wise, but you just had way more rebounds.
More possessions.
And you still shot over 40, but they had like 43, 44%.
It is, and we kind of like, getting back to the three-point percentage, our gauge is if you're 33% from the three-point line, that means you're probably shooting 43 or 44% from 2. That's what it equals out point value, and that's a good number. So if teams are shooting above 33% on us, then it's a negative, and Miles was the lowest in our last 4 games at 35. So there's still a plus in 3-point percentages, and we're not. And so we got to balance that out. We've got to get a little better shooting percentage on our own end, and then we got to reduce it on our opponents.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because even just looking statistically with the North Idaho game, it's like, you technically, you had more shots, but you didn't, obviously the percentage was lower, but you technically made more. But then you looked at the one key stat I think that made the big difference was they just went to the foul line a few more times.
Absolutely, they did. And it was a 4-point game. It was a 4-point game, but, I think North Idaho didn't feel threatened really a lot in that fourth quarter. They had the 7, 8, 9-point lead, and then we cut it down to 4. But, we did some video sessions, and there's a lot of ways for us to change the outcome of that game. And if we can just make some adjustments and play a little harder on defense, we've got to pick that up. Those percentages aren't a fluke. We just have to pick up our intensity defensively.
Yeah, and I think another thing, too, is it still seems we're starting slow.
Yeah, we are. True story. I don't know if we've had a game where we've jumped out on somebody, and it would be nice to do that, get out in front, play with a lead, and that's not been happening again. But then you get back to our shooting percentages. You know what? Is that the reason? So it really comes down to if we can get our shooting percentages up and reduce theirs, we'll be all right. But there's a reason why we're falling behind. They're putting the ball in the hole and we're not. It's that simple. So how do you adjust it? What do you do to fix that?
Yeah, but even in game, we've seen our ladies do it before.
Absolutely.
It'd be nice if they'd start that way and then keep it. And so I absolutely agree.
Trust me, I would enjoy that so much. Yes, I would like that to happen.
I absolutely agree. So a tough one against North Idaho College, which we get to play them again here this time. Maybe a little payback. We'll get there, though.
Yep.
But overall, you did okay, I guess, against North Idaho. You at least kept it close. I mean, at one
We
point you had a
did.
12-point lead. But
We did, but we got to be better. If you're going to win on the road, you have to be better. You're right. There were positives, okay, but you're there to get the win, and it was a winnable game if we performed at our highest capabilities and stuff like that. So, but there definitely were some positives out of that. But that's not moral victories. We they're okay in November, but they're not very good in March. So we got to fix it.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm even thinking about when I'm pretty sure this is North Idaho College, where I think you had the same amount of turnovers as the Cardinals, but your points off those turnovers was, I think, almost twice as much. So at least knowing, hey, that transition is getting much better.
Yeah, it was. That was good. It was a positive. I think we were a +1 in turnovers, and we were plus on offensive rebounds. So those are critical. We got to keep those up. We got to keep winning those statistical numbers there in those two categories. And then the shooting again. Boy, I'm repeating that a lot, but shooting just covers a lot of sins, mistakes.
Well, and I could tell you what, it's really a tale of two teams, essentially. You had the I'll say it, poor shooting percentage that first game on Thursday. And then Friday, you just turn it around, and all of a sudden, it's just like, oh, this is a completely different team. Like, you're winning, I think, by 20, maybe 17, whatever it was. But it's like you have the great shooting percentage. You're dominating the boards. I mean, it's a whole different team.
It was, and matchups play a big part in it. Miles was a different type of team. They played some zone against us, and their transition wasn't as good as North Idaho, or their shooting percentages. Still, 35 was good, but wasn't quite as strong. And I think our depth was better than theirs. So there's matchups play a part. Plus, our effort was good. I thought our posts had their best game of the year, which is a very encouraging sign, not just offensively, but rebounding wise and also defensively. So I think in that game, that was probably our biggest positive was a little bit of uptick in our post play.
Well, I mean, you even bring up the post play, and I'm just going to break this up as a team. That first game is against North Idaho. I'm going to give Luna Wade a shout because she scored 26. I don't know if that's a season high for her, but probably.
Yeah.
26, and then Andy Schissler 19, and then everyone else I think was like 5 and 2.
Yep.
So team-wise, you had 2 shooters.
Yep.
And then this Miles Community College game, 5 or 6 people are in double digits.
We got a really good chance to win when we have 4 people in double figures. When you have a balanced scoring attack, and that's what North Idaho had against us. But when you have a balanced scoring attack, you're much harder to defend, and that you're 100% right. We need good inside points. Our post play's got to pick up their offensive production. We can't rely on Luna and Andy all the time. We've got to have more balance.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see that when I would agree. So. Tale of 2 different teams, essentially. But
yes,
you're right, absolutely. I didn't even think about how the matchups can play out. I mean, there's so many different variables in basketball.
100%.
What can make a good game?
Game to game. Same opponent, game to game. Just an official call here, not to throw any officials under the bus. We know how that goes. Or a tip ball that just lands in their hands and they get an easy basket. I mean, just matchup to matchup, game to game. That's what makes it fun. There's just so many things that are out of your control and unpredictable.
Yeah. And what did you enjoy most about this Miles game? What was probably your favorite moment?
I think, again, getting back to, I thought I saw a big stride from our interior play, our post play. I thought Shenga made a big step, and Arancha had a good game, and Paula had a good game. Those things are really important. That probably was one of the positives. Plus, I thought we executed pretty well defensively. We have a variety of ball screen defenses, and some games we don't have everybody on the same page, and I thought we were pretty good there and got to their shooters a little bit better. So there was positives. I think it was a better effort, total effort against Miles than it was against North Idaho.
Do you feel like our trajectory is headed upwards, or
it can be? It can be. It's kind of day to day right now, and really, to be honest, it starts in practice. We've got to pick up our intensity in practice, and we had a nice one yesterday. That's good, but you just have to carry that over. The way we're shooting, it puts so much pressure on our possession game, and it puts so much pressure on our defense. And the only way we're going to get better there is increasing our defensive intensity and stuff. So, I think that's what's going to be important. We do have a chance to improve. I talked to the team yesterday. Nobody's blowing us out. We're 4-4. Nobody's blowing us out. And there's 4 plays a game in all 4 of those losses. If we could flip the script on those 4, we're 8-0. So there's a fine line. And we really want to win our games now in November, there's no doubt, but they start having a bigger impact in January when we're starting with seeding and first round buys in the tournament and stuff like that. So, if our practices are good and our improvement is happening there and carried over to the game, our second half of the season is going to be really well.
I've always enjoyed the quote that's like, it's not practice that makes perfect, it's perfect practice that makes perfect.
No question, great reps. You got to have good reps, reps done the correct way. Otherwise, you're reinforcing bad habits, and we don't need that. So it's a good quote.
Yep, absolutely. So, all right, split weekend, tale of two teams. We want to see a good team here this weekend, Friday, Saturday, North Idaho College first.
Mm-hmm.
How do we feel about a little revenge game?
Well, I think you have a couple things going for you. One is they're making the road trip. Of course, they're flying instead of a 14-hour bus ride and stuff like that. But, no matter what, long travel is long travel. And flying isn't always, just the most convenient. There's connectors. Neither one of us have direct flights. So they're sitting in airports and those kind of things. So, so they're on the road, so that makes a difference. And, I think we're both going to be as teams and coaches. We're going to make adjustments. We got to do a better job. Their guard play was really good, and we've got to make some adjustments on their ball screens and get to their shooters a lot better. But I do think if we can clean some things up, we have a very good chance to win this game.
I mean, I agree. You only lost by 4.
Yes.
There was a couple of lead changes anyway.
Yes.
You had a lead of 4 at one point. This really is anyone's game.
It's
a great matchup.
It is. Yeah, we're pretty evenly matched as far as talent and depth. So it could go either way. It's who's going to do the best job on the fundamentals.
Absolutely. And T-Bird fans, you also make a difference, so you got to make sure to be there.
Bring the energy. We need that.
Absolutely. Get that momentum going. I'm going to always bring up Arizona Western. I mean, that was such a high emotional game.
It was, but it's kind of on us. When we're playing well and we've got some things going, then our fans appreciate it. So it's going to be on the Lady T-Birds to get that energy up. But if you can give it at all times, we appreciate it. But yeah, hopefully we can bring it up.
All right, so revenge game here against North Idaho. We get the advantage this time. They're traveling, we're not. It's after Thanksgiving, so hopefully they're full of turkey.
Yes.
And pumpkin pie.
Yes, absolutely.
We might be as well.
Yeah, well, we won't talk about that.
So then we come, and Lake Region State College from North Dakota is going to come in again. I believe they're also at 500, 4-4, I believe.
Yeah.
And, they've played a couple of tough teams, lost to a couple of tough teams. What's our preparation or mindset for this one?
Well, this is the third year, I think, in the last 4, if not 3 in a row, where Lake Region's come to our Thanksgiving Classic, which is awesome. We appreciate that. It's a good program. I'm familiar with that program from my 6 years at Miles, and at that time, they were one of the top programs in Region 13, and they're still a very good program and well coached. We have at least one common opponent. They played North Idaho College in Williston. It was at a classic in Williston, and we have 2. And I think North Idaho College beat them by 10, or it was pretty close to double figures. So, if you play the common opponent game, we should be evenly matched. Just the brief opportunity I've got to look at them, it looks like their guard play is really good, and they like to push it some on offense. So, I've got a lot more work to do to get ready for that Saturday's game. We're still refocused on North Idaho and stuff. So as far as knowing some intricacies about them, I don't, but I do know that's a very good program, and traditionally they're strong in Region 13.
Man, Coach, how do you deal with having a game on Friday and prepping for them, and then this quick turnaround and say, oh, well, we also have to prep for this game without having to overlook this first one?
It is a challenge, and it's a read. As soon as I know our team is ready for North Idaho, then we can start sprinkling in the Saturday game. But I can't blend the two unless, you can be half prepared for one and half prepared for the other and lose both, if that makes sense. So you got to take care of, and I like these opportunities because that's exactly what you have to do in the Region 9 tournament. You've got to go to the national tournament. You got to win 3 in a row. So first opponent, priority. If you can get prepared for that and feel good about it, then you can start looking at, okay, who's our second opponent? And we can start sprinkling in there. So I love this type of preparation, and I do believe we're going to be in a pretty good spot here in a day or two, and can take some look at Lake Region here real soon.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back a little bit to the practices since we're talking about it again. What do you do to kind of make these practices more of a perfect practice?
Well, I am a practice guy.
We're talking about practice.
I know. Helen Iverson and I are not on the same page because I just think practices are critical, and you focus on what you need to work on. And it's kind of tough because you'll get a fundamental to a certain proficiency. And then so you move on to the next one and you quit emphasizing that one and that one drifts back. So there are way more things than the average fan understands that you have to do well, and so many things that impact outcomes. And so in practice, it gives you an opportunity to isolate on certain concepts, and then go to another and then try to pull it together. And I believe there's a sequence of success, and the first one is they have to be able to do what you're wanting in a drill, and then they do it in a half court setting, and then a full court setting in practice, and then you finally get it to a game. You're not going to just put it in and execute it at a game. So practice for me is extremely, extremely important.
Well, I mean, it's definitely paid dividends for you for all these years, and we're hoping it continues to go
Absolutely.
well this season. And so just final question for you. To have a great result, a couple of great results this weekend, what do you need in your ladies to do?
I think pick up our defensive intensity, and again, we're going to have to balance some things offensively. Again, you mentioned Andy and Luna; those are both perimeter plays. We got the trend started a little bit at Miles. We got to have some interior offense, and that's critical for us. So if we can do those two things, I think we have a very good chance to go 2-0.
I love it. We're excited for you at home, fans.
Yeah.
Make sure to show up. Be as loud as you can.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And happy Thanksgiving. We will see you next time.